Cousins. If they're older than you, you look up to them and think they are the coolest person on the planet, even if they are actually a loser. If they are around the same age as you, then they're your best friend for life by blood. If they're younger than you, though, you despise them with a passion until they are old enough to not be a nuisance anymore. Hello everyone, I'm Rainy Tinny, and today I'm going to be talking about my cousins! Specifically the ones that I lived with all my life. For those of you who don't know, I am an only child. I am also the oldest out of all my cousins. Therefore, I am the first daughter, the first niece, and the first granddaughter on both sides of my family. And it definitely didn't affect me at all. But this ain't about me, so let's get to it. I grew up in a household where there were 12 people living in one house, 13 if I count myself. 5 out of those people were my younger cousins. For identity purposes, I'm going to call them Shimmer and Shine because they are sisters, and then Huey, Dewey, and Louie for the boys. Shimmer was the first to spawn in, and good lord was she annoying! This girl made it her mission to be the biggest annoyance in my 9-year-old life. She would bite, she would pull my hair, and make Oscar-worthy performances with her crocodile tears, saying I was the one who was doing it to her when I was the one who had the bite marks to prove it! Definitely don't hold a grudge. Safe to say, Shimmer and I didn't get along until she finally mellowed out in high school, and now she's a tomboy with a decent bit of style. But there is one chip on my shoulder from one time when I was 12 and she was, I think 7 or 8? Anyways, I was chilling in the living room watching TV, and I wanted to watch The Nightmare Before Christmas. Not even 5 minutes into the movie, Shimmer comes in asking what I'm watching, and before I could even finish the name, she goes, "I don't like that. That movie's scary." I tell her too bad and continue watching. Shimmer then starts whining for me to change it to something else, and I tell her no, go watch TV in your room or go play somewhere else, and she refuses to leave me alone. Eventually, my aunt steps in, and she is like, "What's going on?" I tell her that I'm watching the movie, but Shimmer doesn't want to watch it because it's scary. I have seen this girl sit through Coraline completely fine, but Nightmare Before Christmas is where she draws the line? Okay! My aunt tells me to change it to something else for Shimmer's sake, and I'm like, no, I was here first and I wanted to watch this movie. This is when all hope of reconciliation until she got older happened. When Shimmer saw that the argument wasn't going her way, in a last-ditch effort, she pulled the most annoyingly Oscar-worthy performance of her 7-year-old life. She started to cry. And I don't mean like that whiny fake cry. No, there were definite tears there. But I knew they were fake, because as soon as I changed it to something else and my aunt left to go to the other room in the kitchen, she looked at me and smiled. And that is when my villain arc began. After that, I snuck into her room and stole her Tinkerbell nightlight for a week. When someone goes low, I go to hell. Safe to say, though, once she got into high school, she became somewhat tolerable to be around. She's chill now. Next is Shimmer's sister, Shine. Shine is a few years younger than Shimmer, but when she was old enough to start talking and walking, oh my god, it was like having deja vu. Shine looked up to her older sister and did everything she was doing. Shimmer got a taste of her own medicine during Shine's younger years because Shimmer would get frustrated at Shine for copying her. Best case of karma I have ever seen. It was great. I never really had any problems with Shine unless Shimmer was tormenting me and then they tag-teamed me. But on her own, nothing comes to mind. I do remember that she was giving the family a hard time because she had learned a swear word at like 4 and wouldn't stop saying it. I think she got a dopamine hit every time she saw the parents' reaction to her saying it. Thankfully, she grew out of it very quickly. Alright, on to Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Huey is the oldest out of his younger brothers. Therefore, he is the most mature one. Most of the time. He's actually kind of chill. He just does his own thing. But oh my god! The double standard in my household. Back in my day, when I was 15, I wasn't allowed to date, hang out with friends without a chaperone, and God forbid I come home with a big purple hickey on my neck. All the things that the boys would do. If I did them back in my day, I would have been hung by the street light to be used as an example for shimmer and shine. I mean, I'm not going to say I was the perfect child, but compared to what these kids have been doing in their teens, I might as well been a friggin' saint. I never snuck out. I never smoked. One time in high school, a friend of mine brought a can of beer, and I took a few sips just to try it, but I wasn't suddenly an alcoholic. I did have secret boyfriends, but even then, after a couple months, I came clean and was like, hey mom, fam, this is my BF of like 3 months. Now, obviously they didn't like that and gave me a hard time. But that's a story for another day. Huey, however, can have a girlfriend and apparently come home with hickeys all over his neck. And what does my family say? Congratulations, you're becoming a man. I hold a grudge about that. I hold a grudge! Dewey is the second oldest of the three. And, well, there's not much to say. He went from temper tantrums to a chill guy. Again, with the double standard. But he has a girlfriend and he wants to get a job so he can buy her nice things. So, I respect that. Gold star. Gold star. Alright, and now we are down to the last one. Louis is the youngest out of all my cousins, and is honestly the strangest one. Examples being, he likes to learn. Not in the sense of he is doing homework for fun. No, he watches geographical YouTube videos. Yeah, he watches brain rot 80% of the time, but the fact that he's willingly watched stuff like that at 7 years old threw me off. Another thing that weirded me out is that the kid self-regulates. I say that as if he's still 7, but I remember one time he got upset at something. Maybe he got in trouble or one of his brothers did something. But Louis never had tantrums. At least, not the explosive kinds. This kid, whenever he got upset, he would isolate himself until he got over it. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when I was a kid and I got upset, I would go to my room and cry. But Louis, this kid goes and thinks by himself. I heard him cry, sure, but he never screamed or yelled. And finally, the kid is secretly smart! He's secretly smart! He does good in school, but if you ask him a question he doesn't want to really answer, he will act dumb! I asked him a math question one time, and I knew he knew the answer, but he didn't want to say it, so instead, he gave me a stupid look and went, I don't know. He is selectively smart! Now, he is like 13 and he is still the same. He hasn't evolved into a chill guy yet because he's still in his bum evolution. But I am curious to see what he's going to be like when he reaches that stage. Alright, and those are all my younger cousins / bums that I had to live with, and I can say that because I walked so they could run into being labeled as the weird kid. Yeah, that's right. I was the villain all along. I got them into all the weird kid fandoms. FNAF, Vocaloid, Genshin, anime. And it was all because of me. I understand that those are all mainstream now, but back in my day they weren't. Now, as much as I give my cousins a hard time and call them bums and bully them for all the years that they tormented me, I do it out of love, because that's what older cousins do. We keep our distance and watch from the shadows while occasionally calling them fat chuds, just to keep them humble. Some might say that's mean, but they just don't get it. When you grow up in a Hispanic household, bullying is a lot easier than saying I love you, because that's just weird. So, if you are an older cousin, and you are somewhat close with your younger cousins, call them a bum and then treat them out to lunch or something. Until next time, bye!